Welcome, everyone. My name is Carrie, and I am the Recruitment and Admissions Manager of our MBA program. I'm glad to meet all of you today. I have been with RSM for a little bit more than 7 years, and I have been in the MBA recruitment industry for more than 10 years. Very happy to meet you all. Today, we are very honored to have Vasilis, Associate Director of MBA Recruitment and Admissions, to be our speaker, and he's going to share his tips and tricks for the MBA admissions. Vasilis, would you like to introduce yourself?
Lovely, Carrie. Thank you so much. So first of all, great pleasure to be here today and to see quite a lot of people joining us. And there's still people who are going to join us, as Carrie mentioned earlier. We did have a very large number of registrations. So really happy, as I said, to be here today. I'll try to answer as many questions as possible, give you my insights, give you my part of my experience and expertise within the industry. I've been within this industry for close to 15 years now, within RSM for about 10. So I've worked in across the different programs. So I'm heading the admissions and recruitment for the MBA portfolio, of course, and the full-time MBA. So every year I get the chance to speak with a lot of candidates, a lot of students. So definitely happy to be here and try to help you out today.
Thank you, Vasilis. And then now let's take a look at our agenda. We have a full agenda for you. First of all, we are going to talk about the application, admissions requirement, and the process of our international full-time MBA program. We are also going to introduce you the new test. When we talk about GMAT, GRE, etc., we will also like to talk about our business admissions test as a new element. Then we are going to show you the application round for the coming year for the next intake. And then we are going to go into different elements of the application, like the Cura assessment and the essay. Of course, very important thing alongside with the MBA application is your financial aid. So what are the options of financing your MBA? And then we are going to talk about what a lot of business schools always say about the good fit. How do you become or show yourself a strong candidate when you apply to our program? And then at the end, we will pick up some questions during the Q&A. So anytime when you have questions, please put it in the Q&A box. So when we talk about the applying to an MBA program, so first of all, you will need to know what are the admissions requirements, and we'll talk about it. And then you may want to think, okay, when should I apply? Does it matter if I apply early, or should I wait when I feel like I'm 100% ready? What kind of documents you need to prepare? For example, the essay, the reference, or any other supporting documents. And how do you apply online? So now we're going to go through all this. Vasilis, would you share with us the admissions requirement?
Great, Gary, of course. So as Gary mentioned, applying to an MBA, it will require you to put in some work in order for you, of course, to prepare your file, to prepare all the documents required, which of course Gary will explain in more detail further down our presentation today. However, there are, of course, the standard requirements and the non-standard requirements. And these are the things that we're also going to discuss today and give you some advice and the tips and tricks as the webinar suggests. So the first thing we're going to look into is your professional experience. The MBA is a program that does require people to have professional experience, professional background, because this is how you and others will be benefiting from studying, interacting with one another. We are really proud that every year we have a very, very diverse class in our full-time MBA. People coming from all sorts of different professional backgrounds with all sorts of different professional experiences. And that is something that gives people the additional knowledge and impact that they want for the future career. So the professional experience is required. and we do look for at least 3 years of professional experience. One of the questions that we always get is, does an internship count towards the professional experience? And we always say it really depends. What do I mean by this? If you have 1 year of professional experience and 2 years of internships, probably not. If sometimes you have 2.5 years with an additional 6 months of an internship, depending also on what the internship was on, then we could potentially look into that as well. The other requirement, it's on the academic side. The MBA, at the end of the day, it is an academic degree that it will require you to be able to be successful on an academic level. Therefore, we do need our students to have at least a bachelor's degree from a recognized university from all over the world. Master's, PhD, we always have people coming into the program with the highest academic qualification, which is the PhD. So therefore, again, another question that comes into mind is, I don't have a bachelor's in business. Can I still apply to an MBA? Yes, you can. Year over year, I would say roughly about 1/3 of the class, they have a business academic background. Another 30%, they have an engineering background. But every year we have also quite a diverse academic background into the class as well. Anywhere from lawyers to doctors to people with a humanities and arts background. So again, you can still definitely apply for an MBA regardless of your bachelor's, your master's, what it was on. Alongside, we do request a GMAT or GRE. Of course, another question that comes up this year, classic or focus edition. We still, of course, accept both of them. Also the GRE. And again, there's no preference for one over the other. So we're not going to say, oh, you have the GMAT, you have the focus edition, so that will be a better or a worse test compared to a GRE. No. And then this year, we also have our own internal test, the BAT, which I will elaborate a little bit down the road. Another sort of like another requirement, or I wouldn't put it as like a hard requirement, is the global mindset. Year over year, 99% of our class in the full-time MBA, they're internationals. So that means that people are coming from all over the world, and they're coming into the classroom, bringing their own global experience, expertise, their culture. That's also super important. And that's where we want our students to be open-minded and to have a global mindset. Sometimes we get the question, I've never worked outside of my own country. Can I still come into the MBA? Yes, you can. Because what you also need to think about is that even if you've never worked outside of your home country, perhaps during your last year or two, you've been working with international teams. You've been working with international projects. So that also helps in order for you to be able to build that global mindset. So that's very important as well. Of course, English. The whole program is 100% in English, not in Dutch, because we also do get that question. So everything is in English. So therefore, we do require people to have a very good command of the English language. We don't require an English language test, so it's not that you have to submit an IELTS or a TOEFL. However, our admissions committee still reserves the right to request it. Sometimes candidates ask me, so how can I prove that I can actually speak English? And the whole application process, everything is in English, 100%. Your application will be in English. You have a GMAT, GRE, or our BAT test. Your interview will be in English. We have the KIRA assessment that Carrie will elaborate in a little while. So everything will be in English. So if we are still in doubt for whatever reason, then we will ask you for an English language test as well. But to be quite honest with you, over the years, that rarely happens. But again, it is a possibility. Last but not least, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because that will come at the end when we're talking about what Carrie mentioned, how can I make myself a stronger candidate? Soft skills. So soft skills, I always describe it as a black box, because a lot of times we refer to soft skills and a lot of different skills can come into mind about what actually constitutes a soft skill. So that can be anywhere from communication to emotional intelligence, to maturity, to adaptability, to resilience, to a lot of different things. So again, it's another very important factor that we do look into as part of your application.
Thank you so much, Vasilis, for your detailed explanation about our admissions requirement. And then now we are going to take a look at the admissions process. Some students, they start preparing their MBA very early, and then they would take their time to do a lot of research, to be in close connection with us, attending different sessions like today's webinar or our other one-to-one session, or even sometimes even fly over for a trip to take a look at the campus. Some students, they make a decision, they're very spontaneous, they will do a lot of things within a short period of time. Everyone has a different preference, so it's up to you. But what we would strongly suggest you to start contacting us and start having a conversation with us when you start looking at our program. What is the best thing to do? To start by sharing your CV or your LinkedIn with us, your profile for an assessment. So on our website, there are CV assessment requests. This is like the most typical way to actually start your contact with us. We'll review your profile, and then we will give you our advice, our suggestions. In some cases, we will also have a consultation session with you online, or sometimes when we travel maybe to your city, we can also have your consultation in person. And then, of course, there will be a lot of back and forth or calls or emails. You won't get all the answers within one email or one call, but we'll be in close touch. When you are ready, then you start your application online, and then you will upload your documents, you will write your essay, you will prepare your professional references, and then you submit your application through our embarked online application system. Of course, we have different rounds of applications. We will show you the rounds of this year for the next intake. When we receive your application, we will start the evaluation process. Then we will contact you to see your next steps. Usually, the next step is what we call a Kira assessment, and we will talk about it in details later as well. But basically, Kira assessment is a timed assessment for us to check different skills from you. One of them is your English ability, for example. It includes video essay, it includes written task. And then there will be an interview. Most interview will be done on Zoom, because most of our candidates are located in different parts of the world, because we are 99% international students for many years. So most of the time, we will have your interview on Zoom with one of our admissions team member. It may be me, it may be Vasilis, or other admissions manager. Usually it's one interview, and there are some times that maybe there will be an extra interview. It doesn't mean that you are particularly better or worse. It's just maybe we need some extra conversation with you. So don't freak out if you receive a second interview invitation. Then after all this process, then the admissions committee have a little bit better idea about who you are as an MBA candidate, and then we will have our admissions committee meeting. We're going to talk about your candidacy, and then we'll make a final decision. Then we will inform you the decision, whether it is positive or if you're not ready. And what else can you do? And when the time we inform you about your admissions decision, we will also inform you about any scholarship decisions. We will talk about financial aid, including scholarship, later on in this session as well. So this is the admissions process. The admissions process in total takes around 4 to 8 weeks. It depends on when you apply and how many more applications we receive in a similar period of time, the volume. So we appreciate your patience and your understanding. And of course, if there is any special case that you need a decision sooner or later, please discuss with us and we will try to accommodate. After seeing the admissions process, you probably want to know what we talked about just now is the new element of our admissions criteria, which is the business admissions test. Vasilis, would you like to tell everyone what is this about?
Sure, of course. Before I start discussing the BAT, I would like to take a moment here to discuss one of the questions, because Kari was mentioning earlier about how we travel the world, and we always try to meet you in person in your city, your country. So one of the questions here is if we have any sessions scheduled for London. Not for the next 3 to 4 months. Most likely London will be in the schedule for either May or June. So stay tuned. We always send out invitations when we travel to the different locations. So please stay tuned for when we're going to be in London next time, but it won't be before May or June. Of course, in between, you're more than welcome to get in contact with one of the admissions managers. At the end of the presentation, you'll see the details of our team, depending on where you're based in the world, so you can actually contact this person directly. Another question before discussing the BAT is about the GMAT. What would be a good GMAT score? Our average GMAT score at the moment is 645. So that sort of gives you an idea about where the students are actually scoring around. What I always say though, and that will hold true also for the GRE and the BAT, it's one score and it's only one piece of the puzzle of your entire application. It will not be the determining factor whether you will be accepted into the program or not. Again, GMAT, GRE, BAT, standardized test gives us a picture about primarily your analytical skills, your communication, your critical thinking, and how you're able to interpret data in a very short period of time, and of course under pressure. Okay, so I think again, you need, of course, to work hard on that. Don't get me wrong, and it can make you a stronger candidate. However, again, I've had the opportunity to interview candidates with lower GMAT scores, and they did extremely well. And I also had I've had also interviewed people with higher GMAT scores that they didn't perform well. So again, it's only one piece of the puzzle. Now, the BAT. The BAT, it's our own internal test, which of course is provided by an external platform. How we came to this was over the years, we've had the discussions with a lot of different candidates, with a lot of different students who struggle with the GMAT, finding the time. So, and they always ask for an alternative. And I think this has now quite a lot of schools, they offer their own test. So last year, in the middle of the year, we decided to run this as a pilot, just to see how it's going to be, how it's going to run. And this year, we're really happy that it has now officially become part of our application, so as an alternative to the GMAT or GRE. So for students who would like to take the BAT, of course, there are eligibility criteria. I'm not going to read the 2-hour test, etc. Of course, again, you'll find all the information on our website. And also, since we are launching this officially this year, in the next few weeks, we're also going to have a formal session to discuss in more detail about the BAT. Now, there are, however, specific requirements in order for you to be eligible to take the BAT. So if you recall, when we were looking into the professional experience to apply to the program, you need 3 years. However, in order for you to be eligible to apply for the BAT, you need a 5-year minimum working experience. On top of that, you also need to have an academic background in a quantitative area, whether that's going to be in business, in engineering, in finance, or if you have managed to build that quantitative skill set through your professional experience. So specific requirements for the BAT. And again, if you're not entirely sure, okay, do I qualify for this or not? One of the admissions managers will be able to help you out to see your eligibility. Something that is extremely important to mention here is that the BAT is only going to be offered to people who have successfully submitted their application. So you cannot do the BAT before applying. So it's not like the GMAT or the GRE. For the GMAT and the GRE, you prepare, you sit the exam, you have your score, and then you decide to apply to the different business schools. In the case of the BAT, you need to submit your full application by one of the rounds. Once we receive the application, if you are qualified, if you're eligible to do the BAT, then you will be invited to sit the test. Another important thing here about the BAT is the fact that the BAT does not require any preparation. The test is built in such a way that if you do a couple of prep exams that they're offered by the platform, you should be able to actually sit the exam. You also don't receive a score yourselves. We receive your results and we're able to evaluate them in accordance to the rest of your profile in order for us to make our final decision. Because it goes back to what I was mentioning earlier. It's the overall puzzle that we're going to look, the overall application that we're going to look in order for us to see, okay, is this candidate going to be academically successful into the program based on the BAT? Yes. And in relationship with the rest of the performance that this candidate was able to showcase in the whole process, then we do believe that this candidate can be admitted or not.
Thank you so much, Vasilis, to talk about the BAT. While we are talking about the BAT, GMAT, GRE, I have a question here from our candidates. So candidates are required to submit a GMAT or a GRE score, or if they are eligible to attend our BAT. Is there any other possibilities for any other candidates to have the GMAT or GRE requirement waived?
Yes, that's a very good question. In exceptional cases, and again, that's a decision that it needs to be driven by the whole admissions committee. One potential GMAT waiver can be offered to people who hold the CFA chapter. So not level 1 or 2, but the whole, all 3 levels completed. So that could be one option for somebody to be waived the GMAT or the standardized test, let's put it this way. And also in some other cases as well, when somebody has a PhD degree in a quantitative area. So if somebody has a PhD in finance, somebody has a PhD in mechanical engineering, we could potentially, again, waive it. Again, it needs to go under review from the admissions committee.
So our advice is for candidates, if they want to check whether they are eligible for the BAT, whether they are eligible for a waiver, to get in touch with us, share their profiles and potentially any documents to support, for example, a PhD, to see what is required from them, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I have another question, which is also related to BAT, so let's do it now. Can we submit a GMAT or GRE and sit for the BAT, will you choose the better score?
That's a
I
very
think
good
this
question.
person, so you understand this.
Yeah, and of course, this is a good question. Now, if you have a GMAT or GRE, we will look into the GMAT or GRE. The BAT is an alternative for people who have never done either the GMAT or the GRE. So that's something very crucial for people to understand when they apply. Of course, somebody might say, okay, my GMAT score was very low, so I don't want to apply with that score. What should I do? If you are eligible for the BAT, then you can let us know, and then we can, of course, if you are a successful candidate when you apply for the BAT, then we can offer you that. That's fine. Another question here is that can a 3-year working professional give the BAT test? No, as I mentioned before, you need a 5-year minimum professional experience to be eligible for the BAT.
Thank you so much. We still have some other questions in the Q&A box. We will talk about it later in the Q&A section. All right. So now I think a lot of you are more clear about the requirement, the process, and the new element of BAT. And if you want to apply, so I want to let you know we have one intake every year and it's always in January. Earlier this month, we have started our class of this year, and then the next eligible intake will be January 2025. We have several application rounds, and then you can see the dates on the slides here. The next application round is closing on the 13th of February, so it's almost a month from now on. So if you are ready for your application, please continue uploading your documents, writing your essay, and submit your application on time. All these application rounds are for all students, including international students. Well, we have 99% international students. So yes, of course, if you apply earlier in the cycle, then you will, of course, hear from us earlier. And then you can have the rest of the year to prepare your relocation, to prepare your MBA journey. It will be a less stress journey in a way. If you apply, let's say, the final round, the 5th of November, please be prepared that it will be a little bit tight process. That means that we'll give you maybe a less time to do your BAT, less time to schedule your interview, and also maybe for later on registration process or visa application. So I always suggest students, whenever you are actually able to submit your application, submit it soon so that you can go through the process and take your time later on to prepare your journey. Only if you have no other options, then you applied in the last round. So all these deadlines are also on our website. So if you're not able to take a photo now on this screen, please, you can always check our website. And then after seeing the application round, next is about the application elements. We talk about essays and we talk about career assessment earlier in this presentation. So what are they? I'm sure you're not, I'm sure many of you are familiar with MBA application process, including an essay, and in some MBA program, they require like a motivation letter or personal statement, no matter how you call it. Our essay topic is related to our mission statement, to be a force of positive change. So as many of you are aware, we are a school that embraces sustainable business and making positive impact. And we would really like to see if you have already taken some initiative or get yourself involved in professional life or in your personal life to be a force of positive change. Or how you are planning to use the RSM MBA to help you to become one. So in this essay, it's about 500 words. You can talk about your examples, being no matter whether it is large or small, global or local, but having a positive impact in your environment. You can tell us your story. Or if you are thinking which part of the MBA program can help you to achieve what you want when you make your business decision after the MBA to become the global leader that will drive positive change. You can also talk about both of them in your essay. I know sometimes it's often when someone has an inspiration, there are some stories behind, there are motivations, and then lead to their plan. So you can also write them both in your essay. Another element is the Kira assessment. So we have been having this Kira assessment for a few years now. It is a timed assessment happening after you have submitted your application and when you are selected to enter to the next phase of admissions. So what we want you to do is to show us who you are, not only from your interview, but also in the video setting. In the admissions committee, we always talk about candidates, but usually only the admissions manager or the interviewer have direct interaction with the candidate. For us, it's not enough. So we really want a lot of our admissions committee member to know who you are. And not only from your essay or from paper. We want to see you, how you communicate, who you are as a potential leader, and your skills. So in this Kira assessment, you will be asked 3 questions. The first 2 questions are in video format. So basically, you are on the platform. When you get the link from us, you go to the platform, you can practice. You can do as many practice as you want. But make sure that once you start, you cannot stop the assessment, you cannot refresh the page, you cannot choose your questions. Otherwise, you will be disqualified. So do all your practice before you make your attempt. So in the first 2 videos, you will see the question in the video format, mostly asked by our alumni. You will have around a minute to prepare for your answer. And then you're going to record your answer in a video as well for around 1 to 1.5 minutes. For us, we really want to see how you potentially interact in a classroom setting. We all know that you prepare for your application. I'm sure you're well prepared for your interview. But in the MBA setting, you don't always have all the time to prepare for answering one questions asked by the professor or by your classmates. So we really want to see how you communicate. This is also a chance for us to, again, see your English ability. We also want to see who you are as a leader. The third question is a written task. You're going to write, let's say, an email, like an email communication to your employees, and then to communicate a message to them. You will be given around 8 to 10 minutes to read your question, think about what you write, type your answers, do your proofreading, and then submit your answer. So altogether, this Kira assessment usually takes 15 to 25 minutes. As I mentioned, please do not refresh the page. If there is any technical issue or Wi-Fi connection that you were disconnected, it's not a problem. We will be able to see that it was a technical issue. Usually, you will be given a week to do your Kira assessment. Of course, if you apply very late in the cycle, you'll be given much less time to complete your Kira assessment. Usually, Kira assessment happens before your interview as well. And when we communicate with you, we'll have a clear deadline when you need to complete your Kira assessment. Vasilis, anything to add on these elements?
Yeah, of course. On the essays in particular, as Carrie mentioned, we're not looking for something that it had like a global impact. It could be something small. However, what I always mention, and here's my tip or trick, let's put this way, for the essay itself, just be honest. Just be honest about what you're writing. That's super important for us to see. Also try to answer the question and try to stay within the limit of the wording, which is around 500 words. So sometimes we do receive really good essays, but these essays are like 2,000 words. That is not what we ask for. And within the MBA, and I can speak on that behalf because I do hold an MBA myself, when the professor will ask you to write an essay with a particular limit on the word, you need to stick to that. That will also help you to really try and focus in answering the question instead of like going on and on and on and on. For the essay itself, when you write it, take a couple of days, go back to it, reread it, and also try to ask one of your friends, colleagues, to read it as well, so they can give you sort of like a feedback, not whether the, let's say, it really answered what you thought we wanted to see, but did it make sense to them? Did it answer the question for them? So these are important things that you can also do when you prepare. So extremely important. And as I said, try to answer the question. And this is like a lot of times you will see people applying to different business schools. And sometimes we do get an essay that is basically answering a question from another business school. And that for us is directly a rejection, because imagine you're applying to a job, applying to company A, and you are sending in your letter of interest stating company's name B. So of course that company will not invite you over for an interview. Okay. Now we have quite a lot of questions here. I'll try to go through them. Before we move on to the next section of our presentation, is 8 years experience with bachelor's in mechanical engineering eligible for BAT? Again, as I mentioned, you need 5 years of professional working experience with a degree in a quantitative area, or whether you can prove that your quantitative skills have been developed through your work. So again, once you get in contact with us, one of our admissions managers, one of our team members can help you in order to elaborate a little more whether you will be eligible for the BAT or not. Again, similar, another question about the 9 years of experience. I think I covered that one. Does having your own business count as working experience? Yes, potentially yes. But again, it depends on what your business is on, how long have you been running it, how big your business is, the cycle, are you managing a team of people or not? So everything will depend. So again, this is another question that one of our team members can help you with that. Okay. A very nice question here is for those who will be selected for BAT, but they might be outside of Europe or in different countries, how will they attend the BAT exams? That's a very good question. The BAT itself, it's going to be online. So you'll be able to do it no matter where you're based around the world. Okay. So you will do it within your own computer, laptop, anywhere you're based at your own time. So there's not a specific time that you need to sit, let's say at 11 o'clock in the morning. So it's completely up to you. However, it is a proctor exam because throughout the whole 2 hours, your camera needs to be on. Somebody's not watching you live. However, the recording of the whole exam will be reviewed by the platform that offers us the BAT. So in case there are any suspicious activities during the 2-hour test, we will be informed and this will be flagged. So very good question. So thank you so much for that question. Okay. Now another question about the BAT, the KIRA. So basically, once you submit your application will be reviewed. And if you are a successful candidate to move on to the next step of the process, you will be invited for the KIRA, the interview, and the BAT if you are eligible for the BAT, or if you submit an application without a GMAT or GR. So the moment we do our first evaluation, if you are a successful candidate to proceed to the next step, all those things will happen at the same time. In countries where there are network volatilities, what measures are in place to ensure candidates are not unnecessarily disqualified for genuine technical difficulties during the KIRA? That is a very good question as well. Terry mentioned something. when we receive your videos, we also receive a report. So if they were indeed technical issues, we will be informed accordingly. So in that note, if you refresh the browser yourselves, we will also know. But if there were technical issues indeed, we will be informed accordingly. Or a lot of times what you can do in case you're facing extremely like a lot of difficulties and you're not able to submit it, just send an email directly to your admissions manager, let them know that you had an issue with that, and we will also see that. So again, we're not going to directly reject you because something happening during your Kiran. Okay.
One more question I think is related to the BAT here. Does project management experience count as a quantitative experience?
It could potentially be the case, yes. So again, what you need to think is when we're talking about requirements, so we have the 5 years, so that's like a hard requirement with the 5 years. With the remaining of, okay, I don't have a bachelor's degree in finance or business or engineering. However, I have acquired and I have developed my quantitative skills through my experience. That's where we need to dive deeper and understand better your overall background and how you have managed to really build on that. Okay. Last question for now, and then we move on because I'm also cautious of time. So if I get a place on the program and am I able to postpone the entry for a year or two? If I got a place and I don't enter the program, will I be banned for future applications? That's a very good question. So under extreme circumstances, we're able to allow you to defer for 1 year. So if you have been accepted into the program and external circumstances, something happened, and you're not able to join us, we do potentially allow you to defer your start by 1 year. But in order for you to be able to do that, you still need to register officially with your registration deposit in order for you to secure your place for next year. We never encourage people who already know that they will not be able to start the coming year to apply for that year. So if you already know that most likely I won't be able to start in January 2025 because that's when our next cohort will start, then I would refrain you from applying to this round for this cycle. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you so much, Vasilis. So let's move on to the next part. And there are some questions that we will answer later on in the Q&A session. Then the next part is also extremely important, is about our financial aids, MBA scholarships, and student loans. Vasilis, would you like to share with us?
Yes, of course. So undertaking an MBA is, of course, a significant financial investment, for sure, for every student who applies to an MBA. However, I always mention that the biggest investment you're actually doing, and you definitely need to think very carefully, is your time investment. But of course, a lot of times we're only looking into the financial element. So that's why we have this specific section here. So there are MBA scholarship options from our side. And so year over year, we do offer a number of scholarships to our candidates. So we are evaluating your application throughout the whole process. And at the same time, we will evaluate, our financial aid committee will also evaluate if you will be eligible to receive financial aid from our side. So we have a different set of scholarships every year. These are partial scholarships. They cover part of your MBA and not a full ride. So that's also something important for you to know. Okay. You don't need to apply for the scholarship separately. The moment you apply to the program, you will be automatically considered for a scholarship. So the scholarships that we offer, they're based in 3 main elements. You'll be we'll be looking into a merit-based scholarship. That can be with a very high GMAT score or a really, really strong career track so far. A second element is a diversity-based scholarship. The diversity-based scholarship is, again, as the word suggests, based on diversity. And a lot of times people ask, okay, how can I make my profile diverse? That's something that you cannot really change right now. This is going to be given depending, for example, from which country you're from. Sometimes we have people working for an NGO, so that's quite diverse compared to the corporate world, let's say. And again, I just want to make sure that people don't misread what I'm saying. This is also open for people working at a corporate, all right? But I'm just saying that every little element or big element can make a difference on how diverse your profile is, okay? On that note, we also try to promote more women into the program. And this year, with a program that started literally like 10 days ago, I'm extremely, extremely happy and honored to mention that we have right now 47% of our full-time MBA students are women. This is one of the highest, if not the highest, percentage you can find within any business school when it comes down to the male-female ratio. And last but not least, of course, a scholarship can be based on financial need. If you're coming from a developing economy, if you're working for an NGO, if you're running your own small business, we also going to take that into account. So year over year, our scholarships, they range anywhere between 10 to 30% of the total tuition fees. So again, this is not guaranteed, but it's going to be something that we're going to look into. And that is, of course, something that you will be able to speak directly with your admissions manager. And again, here we have the list of the different scholarships available. We also have an alumni lifelong learning. So in case you are an alum from either the Erasmus University or from RSM, then you are entitled directly for an alumni lifelong learning scholarship. Last but not least, again, we also have MBA loans. Because again, as I said, the scholarship can partially cover your tuition. For the rest of the amount, you can use your own savings. And most of the time, students are using a study loan. A study loan can come from a bank from your country, so a local bank in the country that you're based at. So you can also check those options. Or in our case, we do work with two external companies. One of them is Project Finance, the other one is Lendwise. You can see all the details on our website. So these are third parties that they offer study loans to our students, covering up to the entire tuition fees for your MBA. So you need to go directly with them. You can check the eligibility criteria directly with them. They will run all the credit check and everything else. So the only thing that they will need from us at some point, if you are being selected to receive the loan, is that you are a registered student, and then everything else, it's going to be some logistics that you need to take care with them. Okay. Let me see if we have any questions around financing options. Can I request for scholarship in all rounds of application? Again, as I mentioned, you don't need to request it yourself, so you don't need to apply for a scholarship. You'll be automatically considered for one. And indeed, every single round has a scholarship budget allocated to it. However, as you can, of course, imagine, the budgets that we have every year, there are limited. Therefore, the first rounds, they have a higher chance of you receiving a scholarship compared to the later stages, the later rounds. However, we always try to have some budget left also for the rounds for August, October, and November. Does being an older applicant with more years of experience decrease the chance of securing scholarships? Not necessarily, no. Again, we look and we take everything into account when it comes down to that. Again, if you're coming in and you are somebody with 25 years of experience, it's not a question about a scholarship. It's a question whether the full-time MBA is going to be a good fit for you. So that's something, that's a separate discussion, which again, you can have with one of our managers, okay? On average, what percent of students get some type of financial aid from our side? I think, if I'm not horribly mistaken, it's about around 35 to 40% of our students every year, they do receive some sort of financial aid from our side, okay? Are there any instances where somebody can get more than 30% financial aid? Yes, there is one scholarship available per year, which can go up to 50%. And I didn't mention this one because we don't necessarily give this out every single year. It's the Forceful Positive Impact Scholarship that it can go up to 50%. And that can be given out to 1 or 2 candidates per year at max. And again, this is linked to what Carrie was mentioning earlier. That is also related to our essay. We want to see that you have truly been a forceful positive change example in your life so far in order for you to be considered for that scholarship. Okay.
Thank you so much, Vasilis. And this is about the finance part. And then I think the next part, which is also our final part before moving to the actual Q&A. Of course, we have been doing Q&A already after each session. Is about a good fit. So it's very often that we hear students asking us, am I a good fit? How do I show you that I am a good candidate for a higher chance of MBA admissions and also scholarships? So we have been asking ourselves within the admissions committee often, what do we want to see from candidates? What do we want to see in our class? Who we want to see as our students? Is it the GMAT? This is very often being asked. What is it? A GMAT score means is it good students? Maybe not. Well, so what do we want to see? Apart from meeting all the admissions requirement, we want to really see who you are as a professional, as a person, and as a future alumni representing the school. Soft skills, or nowadays people call it the power skills, is something that we look a lot. It was already briefly mentioned. But for example, your presentation skills, your communication skills, how you are as a team player, what is your empathy style, what is potentially your leadership styles. Basically, it's something that you would like to see from your classmates and you would like to see as your future colleagues as well. Think about it. Think about the managers that you have or colleagues that you have. If you really like them, what are specials about them? Are they particularly caring? Do they possess good communication skills? Are they a fair person? Can they actually feel for you and work, so motivate the team? So who are they? So these are the things that we want to see. How do we want to see it? Of course, is from your interview and from your career assessment. It's often that we ask you questions that we want to hear a little bit story from you to answer the question, and then you're learning from each examples that you give. Let me give you an example. As an interviewer, I often ask a question, tell me a conflict that you were involved. For me, it doesn't really matter that much what happened during the conflict, but I want to know the lesson learned. I mean, for us, continuous learning is important. Being able to reflect on your experience, to learn from it, it's important for you to continue to improve. And this is also your learning capability that you need from the MBA program. So being able to learn from different examples, no matter whether it is a big success of a project or a setback in a particular case, or mistakes that you make, or fights with your friends or colleagues, if you can learn from it and show us, I think this will be a big plus. And of course, other things like your career progression, how much you have been globally influenced. Maybe you, from one country, you studied or worked in another country. Maybe you have exposure to a global team that originally already helped you to be more culturally influenced. This will also add some point. Not that we have a point system, but will definitely show in your character and also your answer. GMAT is one thing that will show your academic capability. And don't forget, we really want to see a force of positive change. That means that if you are interested in, let's say, sustainable business, or be aware to bring your impact to the people or environment around you when you make your business decision. So all these will play a role during your interview, during your essay, during your career assessment to show us if you are potentially a good fit. Vasilis, what would you like to add?
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. And I think, yeah, Carrie has already given out one of her questions. So please take note of that if you are going to be interviewed by Carrie in the future. No, I think what is important here as part of the interview and as well, just to mention something, a lot of the questions will be behavioral based questions. So we want to see how you reacted in different situations. And that is important also for me as an interviewer, because again, I will have your CV in front of me, your academic transcripts, a lot of different things. However, during the discussion, I'm going to have the opportunity to really see how you reacted in real life situations. Sometimes I'm also going to give you some hypothetical scenarios about what can happen within the program. And I've been through the MBA myself, so trust me, a lot of the examples I'm going to be discussing, I've seen them myself. But going back also to the question, a good fit. Carrie described a lot about what we're looking for and what is a good fit potentially for us. But I think a very important question to also ask yourselves is this school, is this program a good fit for me too? And that is extremely important. Because similarly to when you apply to a job, of course, you want to put forward your best self. You want to come across as the best candidate for the role, for the position. However, you also need to think that you'll spend a year, 2, 3, 5, your entire career sometimes, although lately I think the younger generations, they go from one year to another company. But again, this is also part of the progress and the development of people. But regardless of how much time you will spend in that employer, in that environment, you need to consider, are they a good fit for me? And I think today you're taking a very important first step. For some of you, some other people, I recognize some of the names. They've been in contact with us before, but you're taking a first step to really learn more about the school. So continue the discussion with us and try to see, what does RSM represent? Does it resonate with me? Does it resonate with my values? The whole mission of our school being a force for positive change, of course, is not just about the environment. It's not only about the business environment. It's not whether the decision I'll make today will have a positive impact on the different shareholders, etc. But within the class environment, you need to consider that you're coming into a program to learn, to develop, to push yourself, but you're also there and you'll be an extremely important factor on somebody else's development, knowledge, and the whole life experience. The MBA is not only about learning about financial models and regressions. Of course, these are important things, right? But I can tell you 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you might not remember the exact model you used. However, what you're always going to remember is how one of your classmates during a discussion, during a project, made you feel. And these are things that you will be learning. These are the experiences and moments you will keep for life with your fellow peers. In 5 years later, when you forget about the financial model, for example, you still have a finance expert that you are able to pick up the phone, call them, and ask them specifically on how to tackle an issue that you're facing at work around finance, around marketing, around any sort of challenge or issue you'll face, regardless of the area. So these are important things to consider when you're looking into the good fit. It's a two-way street. So please don't forget that. Through the process, be yourselves. Be true to who you are. Be honest about what you have done, what you like to achieve. So show us the true picture. Yes, of course, as I said, you'll come across as the best potential candidate, right? But through that process, again, we always try to see who you really are. And with all the elements that you will be able to provide us as part of the application, I think that will be extremely important. So looking into the time, we will try to really answer a few more questions that we have on the Q&A. So I'm just trying to be mindful of people's time, okay? So question here, what is the acceptance rate for the MBA program in the first round? I cannot really give you the acceptance rate per round because, again, we're not looking to adjust the acceptance rate per round. The acceptance across the year is pretty much the same. So that's roughly about 30%, I would say. So again, it can fluctuate from one round to another, but that will really depend on the quality of the application pool. It will have nothing to do in which round you're applying for. The only thing I need to mention, and I think Carrie mentioned that before, but I would like to stress this again, is if you are a student requiring a visa, if you end up applying in November, that's going to be difficult for your visa to be on time. So that is why we would say apply in an earlier round. Another question here, if I get a rejection in round 2, can I reapply within the same intake? No. Regardless of which round you might be rejected for, whether it's round number 1, 2, 4, or 5, if you are rejected for that specific year, so if you apply this year for the program starting in 2025, then you cannot reapply this year. So therefore, you'll have to wait to reapply for the program starting in 2026. And on that note, if you do decide to reapply, please make sure that within this time, between one application to the next, that something has significantly changed within your profile. So that's also quite important, okay? Again, the probability about getting to the program in every round, I answered that one. Let's see. How long does the visa process take? I would say once you have all your documents submitted and the visa process opens up after August, it can take around a couple of weeks if you have been able to submit all the required documents by IND. Okay. Carrie, would you like to take any of the questions within the next couple of minutes?
Yes, I was actually typing an answer. Because one is about campus visiting. Is there a specific period available for campus visiting? So I do suggest if you plan to come over to the Netherlands to visit us, potentially maybe have a class visit, please contact us early, because then maybe we can also check for you the class schedule to see if there are classes available. Because if students, they are on some break, then yeah, you can meet them for a coffee, but you won't be able to come to class. This is one. Another question is about the how do you call it? The competition. I don't know how I should phrase it better. Like the actual competition while applying, like how competitive it is. So, well, it's difficult for us to say how many students applied and how many get accepted at the end, because the application volume also changes, or especially the past few years. Yeah, sometimes it's 400-500, sometimes it's 700-800 application that we get in. And every class, we have a different class size. So in average, we have a cohort with a bit over 100 students. And this is something that we think is optimal for now. So it's difficult for you to think, okay, how many students are applying? So how many people I'm competing with? So what I would suggest is to submit your application and really go through the process. And if we believe that you're a good candidate, and there will be a seat for you. So, I mean, it's not that we cap it at some point that we cannot accept any students anymore, even though they are like stellar candidates. So this will be my suggestion. A couple of questions about this is a bit not about admissions anymore, but it's more about the job market, employment opportunity, and career service. For example, there are a couple of questions about career service. I'll try to answer both questions because I'm also looking at the time. We have a career center to support our students. They do many things. So they will help you to plan your career, your long-term goal, your short-term, 3 to 5 years, what kind of first job that you would like to take after the MBA program through career coaching. So you will have regular coaching session with your coach, and you discuss with them your goal. And of course, during the MBA program, when you are bombarded with a lot of new knowledge, new experience sharing, or companies that you meet, your goal may also adjust. So keep your career coach updated so that they can give you the advice. Of course, our career service will also help you to make you an attractive candidate from employers' point of view. So there are workshops like your CV, your LinkedIn, your interview training. We have recruiters also coming to give advice. There are career fairs. There are a lot of company visits and collaborations. So you expand your network through different employers in different industry that will help you to understand, is it a company that I want to work for? And if so, what kind of candidates they want to see, and how I can improve myself or my skills to meet the level so that I have a higher chance when I apply. So we help you to become an attractive candidate, and we connect you with the companies, and then you do your networking, and then we also bring them for different recruitment events, like different openings. We also have a lot of alumni coming back to recruit because they have done the program. They know what the program can help you to transform to a leader, to a colleague that they want to be. So it's often that they come back for some experience sharing, or to help our students in some campus recruitment events, or they have some vacancies in their team or in their company that they will share with you. So when you're students, you have a lot of opportunities to stay in the network, to get the career opportunities, no matter whether it is internship or a full-time job. And that's also why we see that our placement is actually doing very well. So most of our students, they actually accept an offer before or 3 months within the graduation. And most of them, they stay in the Netherlands or in Europe. If you want to see the employment report, it is on our website, in our brochure, and of course, we can also send it to you if you cannot find that. There is another question about the language. Do you need the Dutch language to work in the Netherlands? I think it's a great question, and I can understand that. Vasilis and I are both not originally from the Netherlands, and we have been working here with multiple positions for over 10 years and longer. And correct me if I'm wrong, Vasilis, I don't think we have really any actual issue in terms of looking for a job, in terms of career progression, or speaking with colleagues or clients or in our social life without the Dutch. Of course, it's always nice to learn a little bit word like the good morning and the thank you in order to give a good impression to other people, but it's not that you need the Dutch language in order to find a job. Most of our students, they actually find a job with English or maybe their local language or local native language. There are maybe some industries, maybe let's say if you're into consultancy and if those positions are more for the local market, then maybe they would like to see you speaking Dutch, but this is not the majority of where our students go. What else?
Hey, Carrie, I think we're way over time.
Exactly, yeah.
I would like us to take this opportunity and basically, as you have put it here, the details. So Carrie, Maria, and Simone, the three admissions managers per different regions. So you can check which region actually applies to you. So you can directly email one of the team members for any questions that you have. Also on our website, there is a CV assessment link. So you can actually submit your CV for an assessment, and one of our team members will get back to you discussing your eligibility for the program, but also to potentially schedule a call. You can also check on our website the different cities that the team will be traveling to the next few months. So myself, Carrie, and the rest of the team will be traveling in all over the world. So you can always join us and have a face-to-face meeting in your own city. So I would like to thank Carrie for hosting this amazing webinar. So I hope you found it relevant with the information that you were looking to get today. So thank you so much, Carrie, and thanks everybody for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, Vasilis, for sharing your tips and tricks, a lot of advice to our candidates, and a lot of great questions from the crowd. And thank you so much to our audience. We are going to send out the recording of this webinar to whoever who has registered, so stay tuned. Check our website. So we look forward to hearing from you anytime soon. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.